welcome to the OT. I'm Elise Jesse, and I'm coming to you from Paycor Stadium, where the Cincinnati Bengals suffered their first loss of the season to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The team looking to bounce back on the road in Week 2 and facing the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys are in a much worse position than the Cincinnati Bengals are. The Cowboys not only lost in Week 1 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they also lost their starting quarterback in Dak Prescott. He just had a surgery on his thumb this week, and now the Cowboys will be relying on Cooper Rush to run their offense for them. Do not underestimate this man, because last year, his first start on Halloween night against the Minnesota Vikings, he put his team in position to win. They did come away with a win, so underestimating him would not be a good idea. I spoke to DJ Reader this afternoon, and he noted that it would be foolish to underestimate this offense, even though they don't have their starting quarterback. He also mentioned how he is really digging into the film because he wants to get that taste out of his mouth. Going into Dallas and watching film on them, what have you noticed that maybe you guys can key in on and take advantage of?
I think, just doing what we do well, going out there playing team defense, playing together, being on one accord, and really executing. They do a lot of things well, whether it's in the run game or in the pass game. The guys up front work well together, so I think it's just going to be a good challenge for us as a defense. We got some dynamic players, and we just got to do what we do.
And they had 10 penalties for 73 yards last week. They're still one of the most penalized teams, even going back to last year. Do you guys, knowing that a lot of those happen on the offensive line, do you guys as a defensive front kind of lick your chops when you know that a team is like that?
We plan on playing aggressive, and that's what we do naturally. And we can't really control the calls. We pride ourselves on being a disciplined team, so we're going to go out there and do our thing and just get after those guys and do our best to work, and hopefully we get a couple of those calls too.
Knowing that Cooper Rush is in for Dak Prescott this year, or this week, I would expect them to rely heavily on Ezekiel Elliott in the run game. How much are you guys anticipating them relying on that?
I don't know. That guy's been there for a minute. He's there even with the offensive coordinator in the same locker room. Same quarterback room. They're all there, so he's been there a minute, and he can spin the ball. He can get some things done. So I don't see it changing too much. I feel like it'd be similar flow to their offense.
Does it seem like, fans underestimate maybe a little bit too much?
Yeah, I think fans are reading the backup quarterbacks a little bit too much. Those guys in the league, and that's why they're in the league. They've been in there for a minute, so they're good. They're good at the job, and you got to respect everybody.
What have you guys spoken about heading into your first road game?
Just the mentality on the road. Go out there and get our first win. Try to get on the board. Do what we need to do to get a dub. And I think that's really the most important thing.
And I know there are a lot of chicken littles in the world after one loss.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like to me like you guys were even worried after that first loss.
Yeah, there were 16 games played, so 16 teams took a loss. So, we're in that 16, and now we're trying to get another half and get a win. So we weren't reading too much into it. Of course, we wanted to win. Divisional game opponent, we're at odds with, and we have a beef towards, but we didn't get that done. We can't dwell on it too long. We got a game luckily we got a game coming up Sunday, and we have to go out there and get that taste out of our mouth.
Get that taste out of their mouth. That's a line that we heard quite a lot during the lean years of Zach Taylor's career. Didn't hear it at all last year, but now the Bengals do find themselves in that same position in 2022, hoping to climb out of a 0-1 hole to start the year. I also spoke with Jamar Chase. He plays with a lot of emotion on his sleeve, and we spoke about that, and he's already talking about how he's digging into the film and studying the tendencies of the cornerbacks who will be covering him in Week 2 in Dallas.
Overall, I don't really know what to expect. I'm just going to have to go off the adjustments when it's time to go in the game. But overall, I think they play well. I think Travion is very athletic. He doesn't play all the way technique sound. But the other corner, I don't really know him as much as I'm supposed to. I'm studying his game right now. His last name is Brown. He's a bit off a little bit, but he doesn't have good judgment on the ball, but he still stays up front a little bit. But other than that, I don't really know what to expect on how they're going to game plan for me.
And I noticed that you seem to play with a lot of emotion, a lot of passion on that field. How much does that help you when you're out there?
I just love the game of football. You know, it's been a passion of mine for a long time. Yeah, it's been a passion of mine. And it's hard to keep you composed in tough moments sometimes, but that's why I begin to grow at. So, I mean, it's just, you know, the love for the game I have for it and how much I want to be here.
And a frustrating loss, obviously, but now you move towards a brand new week. You've got 16 opportunities. How anxious are you all just to get that first win under your belt and out of the way?
Honestly, I don't even know how to answer that, you know what I'm saying? We just ready to win. It's that much, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you just got to know how to respond to it, start off fast, and execute the right way so we can get the W.
What kind of conversations do you and Joe have during a game if you see something or notice something that a corner is doing on you that maybe you can attack?
Yeah, really I just go to him and tell him the leverage they playing me, you know, and how they've been playing me from the previous plays. And, you know, that's when, you know, he tells Zach or pitch and tell them what he thinks best against the cornerback and how he's playing me.
And not to give it away, but have you planned your road game outfit yet?
No, I haven't yet. Not at all.
You haven't?
No,
do you have a stylist that does that for you?
I just.
You do it yourself?
Yeah, I just buy
really?
clothes.
You just go out and pick something out and you're ready to go. When do you end up doing that?
Either the night before or the day of, like hours before I'm leaving. I'm like real last minute on packing, so that's horrible.
Does that make you nervous?
No.
Being last minute on it?
No. It makes me feel like I can think faster. It feels like I know where stuff at when I'm last minute a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, I will explain the situation. I did not ask him about that infamous photo where he was flipping the bird to Minkah Fitzpatrick, even though it was hilarious. I promised him I would not ask about that because I only had about 2 minutes before the locker room did close. I also promised him that I would not ask him about the Murphy's Law game. That's what I'm calling it, because anything that could have gone wrong in week 1 certainly did. So he was happy to not have to talk about that any longer. He did mention, we talked about fashion a little bit in that clip. He did mention that he does not plan on rolling with a suit. He says he will go a little bit more casual in week 2. I also had the chance to talk to new long snapper, just signed off the practice squad, Cal Adomitis. He is just a fantastic human being, it seems like, and he's getting prepared for his first NFL start. Here he is.
Yeah, I mean, not too much different than kind of the whole process so far, and I think that's, intentional. He's been training me, and the same amount he's been training Clark throughout the process, so, really just trying to make it as smooth of a transition as possible and not overthink it or anything. We both know I'm capable of doing the job. Obviously, Clark won the job, at the end of camp for game 1, but both of us were capable of getting the job done. So really just trying to not make it any different than, any of the other preseason weeks, basically.
And we spoke about it off camera, but to bring it on camera for everybody to hear, the biggest difference for you now that you're in a starting role?
Yeah, so, probably the biggest difference at this point in time is just the fact that, Clark's not really in the building right now, and he's taking care of some business with, getting his arm all fixed up. But, it's like I said earlier as well, I think it's probably a bigger difference for Kevin than anyone, and walked through the other day, we were joking around about, when was the last time that, Kevin was out here and Clark wasn't out here with him. So for me, my goal is just to make it as smooth of a transition as possible and make it even seem like, nothing's changed, if that's even possible, basically. So.
I know you guys stay ready, you stay prepared, but did you get a bunch of calls from family and friends and stuff like that when they knew that you were going to be in this position? Yeah,
absolutely. Definitely got a lot of texts and calls from some friends and family. Feel bad, haven't really gotten back to everyone, but I know they'll understand that, I'm focused on doing my job right now, so I'll get back to them when I can, but definitely felt a lot of support from friends and family.
Have you always been a long snapper?
Yeah, so this was something I started doing actually my junior year in high school. I was a tight end and fullback, and then the team I was on basically was a pretty stacked high school team, and my dad was the one who suggested, hey, long snapping is a way to just get on the field more and potentially even, get at that point in time, just finding out that guys were getting scholarships for long snapping and specialist positions in general. So it was just a way to get on the field more and kind of make myself more valuable as a football player, basically.
Going back to your junior year of high school, did you ever expect to be playing or starting in the NFL as a long snapper when you first transitioned? Yeah,
that was that's always been the goal. That was part of the reason I started doing it, is I wanted to play football as long as possible and, at the highest level possible. So, I definitely believed I could do it then, and I certainly believe in myself to do it now.
How do you get ready for games? Is there any kind of music that you listen to ahead of the start?
I'm as much as I love music, pre-game is probably actually one of the times where I don't listen to as much music, just because I get excitable easily, and I think for me it's important to just keep myself even keeled and focused on the task, and not really let my emotions get kind of outside of myself, and just make things as standard as possible. So I'm a big music guy, but pre-game not as much.
It seems like in our society a lot of people can be very emotional. How do you rein that in? How do you compose yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely something that I've grown and gotten better at through the years, but I think the important part is just kind of identifying the emotions you're feeling, and then I hate the word compartmentalizing, but kind of just like, all right, this is going to be helpful for me, this isn't going to be helpful for me, and just moving on, and just being good at kind of knowing what's going on in your own head and knowing the emotions you're feeling, and then from that point just taking the steps to just make progress and keep moving forward, and throw the bad emotions away and let the good ones kind of help you perform at a higher level.
Did I read right that you signed with the team in May?
Yep, yeah, I signed right after the draft, and had gotten to know Coach Simmons and Colt Anderson, who's his assistant, throughout the spring and winter, through like the Senior Bowl and the Combine and everything. So signed right after the draft and was here for OTAs and everything. So been here for a number of months now. So.
And they've all mentioned, even Zach Taylor has mentioned, that they were very impressed with you. What kind of conversations did you guys have to solidify the relationship that you have now?
I think less than, I guess more important than just conversations were just kind of I tried to bring a good work ethic every day and just tried to be consistent. I realized coming out of college, obviously I was the best long snapper in my class in college, but there's a different standard in the league, and I was confident in my ability, but just wanted to show that as I gave myself time to close the gap between Clark and I, performance-wise, just being mentally consistent would be the best way to gain their trust, and hopefully the trust of my teammates as well. So I think that probably was what led them to trust me, was just like a consistent attitude and work ethic, basically.
Cal Adomitis preparing for his very first NFL start. I was personally impressed that this coaching staff had him on their practice squad. It's not every day that you hear about a team keeping a long snapper on their practice squad, but it turned out that was a really fantastic, smart, brilliant move by the Cincinnati Bengals coaching staff. I also had a conversation. I love to talk to former players, and you guys who watch this show regularly know that I love to get their opinions, because they did play the game. They did play it at the highest level. And when they say something, they notice something, you can trust what they're saying, because they've been in those positions more likely than not. And I spoke with Rodney Heath this week, and I asked him what he thought when he was watching the Dallas Cowboys defense this week.
Dak Prescott had surgery on Tuesday or Monday, maybe, I think. Did you look at any tape yet on the Dallas Cowboys? I know they had a brutal loss as well.
I saw Elliott was kind of running harder in the beginning of the game against Tampa Bay, and I was like, oh, wow, he's looking like, his old self, really trying to make a point. Obviously you would think Dallas offensive line, they pride themselves on being able to run the ball. Losing Dak really, really hurts them, obviously. On the defensive side for the Cowboys, they got a couple of good, they got one cornerback who's, an up-and-coming young guy, and he's very good. But he gives up touchdowns, too. He can make interceptions, but he gives up touchdowns, too. I still feel like if we don't have Higgins, that just takes away from what, coming from concussion. We don't know if he's going to be back. I'm pretty much not sure if he will be.
Right.
That takes away from what the offense can do. But if you're going to go and we're going to put him one-on-one with Chase, and if, Joe can get time, I still think they can exploit that. But we got to get a running game going too. Not just 70 yards. I'm talking about actually ball control and controlling the time of clock. And luckily the Cowboys, let's go back. Luckily the Steelers didn't really have the offense going like that. They didn't have the receivers who can separate from the defense like that, or that game could have been out of control even worse. So Bengals fans, you still had a chance to win, even with 5 turnovers, and the defense got to create turnovers too for Cincinnati. So those are the things that can really help them. and win the game in special teams, because we saw how bad special teams really hurt them too at the end.
Yeah.
So, Dallas is reeling right now, I think, and everybody's making fun of them. Like, nobody wants to see the Cowboys win. So you can't go in there and think that they're not going to be ready to play.
Dallas was the only team that was not able to score a touchdown in week 1. Right guard Terrence Steele had 3 penalties against him right from the jump. And overall, their team had 10 penalties in that game. So it's kind of like new year, same issues for Mike McCarthy. I have a feeling that the Bengals will take advantage of the fact that the Dallas Cowboys have not figured out discipline issues yet.
Yeah, I would say if you can't have that type, if your identity is a team with discipline and an undisciplined team, and you can't get that figured out, you already have a battle right there alone in its own right. And you lose your quarterback, who is your leader. Now you're looking at a whole bunch of issues now. I don't know if they're going to start pointing the fingers if it keeps going down the wrong road, or we're just talking about simply just lining up and playing football, coming off, firing off, blocking your man, assignment football, and you can't even do that completely. And I get it. Every week things are going to happen. It's not going to be perfect games. I get that. And obviously, just like the Bengals were saying, a lot of starters didn't play during the preseason. The Cowboys could say the same thing. A lot of these teams, Buffalo didn't have that issue. A lot of these teams who look like they're firing on all cylinders, Tampa Bay didn't have that issue. I mean, they still had Godwin go out in that game against the Cowboys. So now you're looking at next man up. That's why, we need to fill that other receiver in when Higgins is out. Same type of things. The Bengals need to take advantage of this. They also need to make sure whoever and whatever they do, the number one goal is to keep Joe upright and protect him. And the offense, I'm be honest, they made it to the Super Bowl last year. That offense was on fire. Defense was solid, but the offense is the reason why they were there. Everybody understand that. Joe and Chase, all of that. But now when you look at the situation, it's just like you still had a chance to win that game against the Steelers, and you turned it over 5 times. So the defense is stepping up even more. So that's why I feel like it could be a blowout when they go down there. They really could blow the Cowboys out. But it's any given Sunday, so I just can't sit here and say that. I think the way this game can play out is the Cowboys are going to be, they don't want to lose 2 at home, right? Primetime game. Now they got the defending AFC champions coming down, and they don't want to lose this game. But their quarterback is gone. So the next guy, the defense is going to have to pick it up. Now, on our side, defense played pretty well. They didn't turn it over, but they played pretty well, being put in the situation they were. Joe's going to come back upset. The offense is going to have chips on their shoulder. The skill guys, I understand that. What is that offensive line going to do? Still, what are you going to do? It all comes down to those guys. What are they going to do?
We all enjoyed Cincinnati's magical run to the Super Bowl last year. But now in 2022, these teams have a full season plus more of game tape to evaluate. They're able to study guys like Jamar Chase, guys like Joe Mixon has a ton of tape from throughout the years. They have more tape on Joe Burrow. They have, more tape on some of the guys on the offensive line. So they're able to study their tendencies. How much of a difference do you think that makes between 2021 and 2022?
It does. At the level of how teams prepare for opponents, it does affect. You still have to go out and play the game. Now, here's the thing I will say. Their schedule is tougher this year.
Yeah.
So when you get the level of teams that you're going to play, whether it be at home or on the road, you're going to have to bring it every week. And you're going to have to stay healthy, because we understand how it gets when you get midway through the season into the end and people start getting hurt and they go on IR. You're not getting those guys back. So now we're talking about playing a season, if you play it in quarters or however way you want to do it, and understand that your schedule is harder now. So yes, they're going to study Chase a lot more because he had a heck of a year. They're going to study Joe. And now on the flip side, the Bengals got to figure out, how do I get better? Because now my competition is going to be even better week in and week out, let alone your own conference. You got to win that. You got, Baltimore looked pretty good, and who knows what Cleveland's going to do, but that's a rivalry game. So you can't really sleep on any of those teams. So they need to stay healthy, and the number one objective is you better keep Joe Burrow upright
and healthy. Yes, I think those go hand in hand. I fully agree with you there.
For real.
And that is it for this episode of the OT. Please subscribe, like the video, do all your commenting. I love to read those at the end of the night. And enjoy Thursday Night Football. What a game. The Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to anyways. I'm going to take the Chiefs 31-28 over the Chargers. I will see you next week at 8 o'clock.